Hey guys, how are you? Welcome into a Thursday morning edition of the Daily Juice podcast with me, Matt Perrault. Every morning you guys can follow me every day on Twitter, every night too, at Sports Talk Matt, at BettingPros on Twitter, at BettingPros here. Thanks to BetMGM with the $10 offer, $10 on any event, one on a bowl game, $10 bet, $150 to you in your account. Juice150 is the code to use when you sign up for a new account with BetMGM. You can find the video of this podcast on YouTube to search Betting Pros or get the audio literally wherever you get your audio podcasts for the Daily Juice. All right, so we're doing well in bowl season. 2-0 officially yesterday. We get the under Clemson 44.5. And we get Oklahoma minus 6.5. Now, if you were on the Discord channel, you went 4-0. If you played everything I recommended, you went 4-1. But I gave you on my, I want to call it radio, but it's not a radio show anymore, but on my internet show that I do every day with Dave Sherapan, I got a little birdie whispering in my ear about Vatek and the fact that Vatek did not want to be in that bowl game. Vatek did not want to be in that bowl game. So I told you guys on the Discord channel, bet Maryland minus 4. But I try, or at least what's the word I want to use? When it's not my handicap, I don't always like to make it an official play. But when I'm told to bet something or I get a tip, that's when I make the play. And I tell you guys about it, but it's not my handicap. So it wasn't my handicap, but we got Maryland minus 4 in a walk. And then I was told about Iowa State, and Iowa State having some players who were limited, players who were out. I said take Clemson minus 2. Clemson closed at 2.5. We got that as well. I chickened out on the live total. I should have bet over 28.5 for the game, and I chickened out. I choked on it, and instead I bet over 40.5 because I thought the game might go to overtime, and I got scared that Iowa State would score a touchdown late to go 20-20, and then we go to overtime, and then we would go flying over. And I was like, let's just take some insurance because I had Clemson minus 2. So as long as Clemson won, I was going to be all right. It was going to be a winning game. It was a winning game. I went 2-1 on the bets. That was a winning game for me. But if you did not follow the live bet, you went 2-0 with Clemson minus 2 and the under 44.5. Maryland minus 4 and Oklahoma minus 6.5. Big game Bob, baby. Bob Stoops. Oklahoma's defense is not great, but it was good enough. It was good enough. Oklahoma's offense still very potent, and you got to be happy for Bob Stoops. That's pretty cool, man. Coming back to the sidelines, and as I said last night, I mean, those kids know who Bob Stoops is. If you're from Oklahoma, if you're from Texas, you know what that guy is, who he is, and it's an honor to be coached by him, and he did a phenomenal job of getting those kids ready to go. Big win for Oklahoma, and they cover the 6.5 points. Okay, so there are 4 bowl games coming up here today. I have plays on 3 of them. I'm not touching Michigan State Pitt, okay? There's no real way to handicap that game. The 2 best players for either team out. Quarterback Kenny Pickett. Walker's out for Michigan State. I want no part of that game. I have no idea how that game is going to go, so I'm just going to watch that game. I am punting on that bowl game. However, let's start with an early game. 8:30 Pacific time, 11:30 Eastern time, okay? Note the start time for this game, the Duke Mayo Bowl, which is a nasty name for a bowl game because I like mayonnaise, but a bowl of it makes me want to vomit. That's just too much mayonnaise. But number I got was 9.5. It is climbing. It might be 10 by the time you get it, but I talked about it on the Discord channel. I like minus 9.5. If you can find 9.5, take it under 10 or buy it down if you want. But I played 9.5. 10s should be available by the time you listen to this. I think 10's okay. I wouldn't go over 10, but I think 10's okay. North Carolina, South Carolina. 5-7 North Carolina to the number up against 5-6-1 South Carolina. Now, on the road, both these 2 teams, not great to the number. 1-4 North Carolina, 1-3-1 for South Carolina. Last game against NC State, North Carolina lost by 4 as 5-point dogs. They lost by 7 as 6.5-point dogs to Pittsburgh. Last time out, Clemson throttled South Carolina. They lost by 30 as 11.5-point dogs. They won by 4 in surprising, shocking fashion against Auburn. Plus 11 on that one, 7-point dogs, 4-point victory. But they have been very inconsistent. Here is where I think this is going to be very interesting. Opt-outs and injuries and all sorts of interesting things going on here for both these 2 teams. There's no real injuries to note here, and this is a big game for, one, North Carolina to beat up on their rival in South Carolina. But also, when you start looking at the numbers here, the offensive numbers for North Carolina, I think they're going to be able to throw the football and move the football, run the football on South Carolina. South Carolina gives up 192.6 rushing yards per game. That's bad, okay? That's 100th in the country. You got a 212-yard rushing attack for North Carolina, and then they go play action with Sam Howell, and they throw the ball deep, 8.8 yards per pass play. It's top 15 in the country. They throw for 264 yards per game. Now, South Carolina's got a decent defense, but they've had some opt-outs on that defensive for South Carolina. They give up 185 yards, but this is where I really struggle. The offense for South Carolina has not been good, okay? 19 points per game. This is why people are saying play the over in this game at 57.5. I can't see it. I mean, look, North Carolina's defense is not good, okay? 33 points per game. That's not good. But South Carolina doesn't run the ball very well. They don't throw the ball very well. That's why they're bringing in Spencer Rattler to play quarterback, okay? Their offense is not good, and Rattler's not playing in this game. I don't think Carolina scores enough. I think their defense gives up 30 at least. I laid the 9.5 points, half a unit on all our bowl games. We're going minus 9.5. North Carolina, minus 10 as well, but don't go over 10, but minus 9.5 officially for North Carolina versus South Carolina here in the Duke Mayo Bowl. I lean towards the under in this game, to be quite honest. I just, the over might hit because Carolina might score a ton of points on South Carolina. I like the Tar Heels here. I like them to put a big number here on South Carolina. Early, 11:30 Eastern time. Another reason why I don't love the over, because it might be a sleepy start for both these two teams. Again, leaning towards the under. Second play of the day, we go to the Music City Bowl, Tennessee and Purdue. Okay, let's talk about the total. The total is 64.5. We've got Tennessee at 9-3, Purdue 4-8 to the over. Tennessee, last 5 games have all gone over. Last game for Purdue went over against Indiana. They won the game 44-7. Interesting to look at this offense for Purdue, and I know there's some injuries and opt-outs for Purdue. I would lean towards Tennessee to win this game, but I don't want to go near there. Dogs are going to start barking at some point here I've been very chalky with my plays for the bowl games, but the under for Clemson wasn't chalky. But, taking Clemson was chalky. Taking OU was chalky. And we're taking favorites here, okay? And I would lean towards Tennessee, but I don't want to go near it. 64.5, I want the over. Why? 3 of the last 4 for Purdue have gone over. Purdue gave up 59 points to Ohio State. They gave up 29 points to Michigan State. I mean, they gave up 23 points to Nebraska, for goodness sakes. They gave up 30 to Wisconsin. They scored 44 themselves against Indiana. They scored 32 themselves against Northwestern. That game almost went over, under by 1.5 points, or it would be a 4-game streak for Purdue to the over. For Tennessee, 45 points scored against Vanderbilt, 60 points scored against South Alabama, 17 points scored against Georgia, but they gave up 41 points to Georgia. 45 points scored and 42 points given up against Kentucky. They gave up 52 points to Alabama, scored 24 points on their own. This is a Josh Heupel-led offense here where, as we've talked about, earlier with Ole Miss or Tennessee, they like to play fast. They like to go up tempo, and they're in their home state, and it's going to be a home game. All right, this is going to be a party for Tennessee. Home field advantage, 37.3 points per game scored for Tennessee. They give up 30. 27 points given up per game for Purdue. They give up 20.5, but the problem for them is that you can throw in these guys. They give up 200 yards per game passing, and I think there's going to be some opportunities to score points here with speed and tempo for Tennessee. I think Purdue's defense is a little bit underrated, but I'm not worried about it. I think we start the game with Tennessee scoring 35 points, and the question will be, how many points do we get out of Purdue? The hope is we're getting 31 or more points out of Purdue here, and we're going with like a 35, to 31 type of or 32 type of game, and maybe both teams in the 40s, okay? 64.5 points is a lot of points. I totally get that. I just think we're talking about possessions and scoring fast. 462 yards of total offense for Tennessee per game, 342 yards given up on the defense, but Purdue 424 yards per offense themselves, and Tennessee's defense gives up 425 yards per game for them. I mean, that is an unreal amount of yardage given up for Tennessee. I think Purdue gives up 35 points. I think Tennessee gives up 30. I think we're going over 64.5 for a half a unit. Tennessee and Purdue to the over. One more play for you guys coming up here for a half a unit. And that is the Las Vegas Bowl here in the desert with Wisconsin against Arizona State. Arizona State is 5-7 to the number. Wisconsin 6-6. Wisconsin did not play well down the stretch. They lost to Minnesota as 7-point favorites. They did not beat Nebraska by more than 10. They won by 7. But before that, they had covered 4 games in a row. On the other side, only 2 covers in the last 6 games for Arizona State. And yes, Arizona State covered and beat Arizona, laying 20, but that's a rival. Game before that, they were 3-point favorites to Oregon State. They lost outright by 14 points. They were laying 6 against Washington on the road. They won by 5. I have not liked this team on the road. Arizona State 1-4 on the road against the number. 3-2 Wisconsin on the road to the number. But this bet for me with Wisconsin -6 really comes down to the fact that you can run on Arizona State. 135 yards per game given up. That's not great. That's okay. Wisconsin's defense is outstanding. I don't think Arizona State scores very much in this game. Number 1 rush defense in the country, 2.2 yards per rush given up, 65 yards per on the ground given up per game, 204 for Arizona State. They need to run the football. To be effective, they need to run the football because they don't pass the ball all that well. They're okay at it. They're not great at it. 7.9 per pass play, 197 yards. They got a dual threat quarterback who's a lot of fun to watch, but I'm just not sold that Arizona State can move the football on Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin runs the ball. I would lean towards the under 41 in this game as well, but I'm going to lay the 6 points here. Wisconsin -6. A lot of folks are going to be here. Bucky travels, man. Wisconsin fans travel. Hardened Big Ten team against a wishy-washy Arizona State team that I have not liked this season at all. I think they've underperformed dramatically. A lot of turmoil inside that Arizona State Sun Devil organization / program. I'll lay the 6 points. Wisconsin -6 up against Arizona State. All right, so what am I doing with the half a unit that's hanging out there? We're going to watch Denver and Golden State. Number currently is 3.5, road favorite. How many points will I get for Denver, who just beat and led wire to wire in the last game at Golden State? Now, the same 2 teams are playing again here. How many points am I going to get for the home Nuggets? If I get 5, very possible I'm going to be on Denver. If I don't get 5, there's a chance I'm going on Steph Curry under 5.5 made threes. It most likely will be juiced. Steph Curry has gone under 5.5 made threes in 7 of the last 8 games, including in the last 3. Last game he had 5. Of those 8 games, he's had 5 in 4 of them. Okay? It's just look at the numbers. It's nuts. Curry gets to 5 consistently, does not get to 6. He gets 5, but that 6-3 just is not going down. So I'll probably bet the streak here and bet the under 5.5 for Curry made threes. I'll probably be on it personally anyway, but I may be officially on the home dog Nuggets +4, 4.5, 5. We'll see how many numbers I get. But I'll have that in the Discord channel for you guys, bettingpros.com/chat, or the link underneath me here on YouTube to get in. Okay, so to recap, we're going -9.5, North Carolina against South Carolina, 11:30 in the morning Eastern Time kick. We're going Tennessee, Purdue over 64.5 in the Music City Bowl, and I'm going Wisconsin -6 against Arizona State here in the Las Vegas Bowl for us. By the way, somebody wanted me to mention that if you bet the teaser, like I talked about, take +2.5 for Iowa State and tease it up, right? And then I said take Oklahoma and tease it down. That cashed. So if you did that teaser, I forgot to do it. I didn't do it, but somebody wanted me to bring that up, that cashed as well. I mentioned that last night on the podcast. So if you played everything I recommended, you go to 5 in one day. Good day. A lot of fun. I'm back every single day, every morning. It's the Daily Juice Podcast, always being brought to you by BetMGM.